Welcome back. It's been far, far too long. We're back here at True Storm Football. Who we got over here?
What's up, baby?
What's up, baby? Got Mr. Mike Pineacker.
What you call me?
I'm Travis Sumter. You know, the Maverick one. You know, TJ Sumter 55. Find me on Twitter. Find me wherever. Uh, we're just going to get a little bit of talking here tonight, just to kind of get things out of the way. But first thing we're going to bring up here is we're going to bring up rookies and their impacts on a team. Who are you feeling is going to make a big rookie impact this year?
I'm leaning towards Waddle. I think as much as that wide receiver core and stuff has a good amount of people, I still think that Waddle is going to be the most consistent. Devontae Parker can do what he wants, but he's not going to be relevant. Will Fuller will do the Will Fuller stuff, just fly down that field, try to catch that deep ball. I think Waddle will be consistently taking that DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller type of role. So while Will Fuller is flying down the field with deep ball, everyone that's fast has to guard him. Well, that leaves Waddle over here to grab that ball and take that yards after carry and just take off.
You know what? I completely agree with it. I'm a big fan of Waddle myself. Um, I've done 3 rookie drafts so far, and I have Waddle in 2 of them. The only one I didn't have was because I needed upside, and I grabbed Smith instead. Um, but I feel like Waddle, he's going to have Tua's eyes. Uh, he had Tua's eyes in college, and I look for that to continue here in the next level. This team should take a step forward as well, and I think they will be a little more pass heavy than they were last year. I think they're going to let Tua kind of do his thing and throw it around, and I could see a Waddle being a big proponent of that. Uh, my rookie impact player I'm going to have is probably, it's probably the most obvious, maybe, but it'd probably be Najee Harris, just because of the sheer amount of volume that he's going to have. He's going to have 300 touches probably. It's probably not going to be the prettiest thing in the world, but I could still see him walking out of the season with 12 to 1300 all-purpose yards, especially when we're talking about playing 17 games this season. I mean, it's not the best situation in the world behind that offensive line. Like, that's what I say. It's not going to be probably like the prettiest thing in the world. But I mean, just maybe it's the most obvious, maybe it's the most safest, but I just feel like that could be the biggest impact rookie.
Yeah, I agree. He got put into a perfect situation with them getting rid of James Conner. I mean, it left that backfield needing someone, and I think that Najee Harris can be that guy. The only other person I would think of that could have as big of an impact, I think, will be Pitts. But that's everyone knows that Kyle Pitts is going to be that guy that that number 1 tight end for that team to probably be in the top tier within at least 2 years, or at most 2 years. So Pitts, I feel like, is that automatic. He's gonna be succeeding. He did good with Trask. Trask, not super great. Getting a quarterback like Matt Ryan, I think, immediately pushes him to his potential that he needs. He'll probably have a week that he's got to get the jitters out and stuff with going against an NFL team, but I think that's about the extent of it.
And I feel like a dinosaur here, but people forget that he did this with Tony Gonzalez back in the day, and we know that Matt Ryan could support a big time tight end. Plus, we have no idea what's going to happen with the Julio contract, or what maybe if he gets off and traded. Julio's averaged 10 receptions a game over his career. If you look at his stats, and those targets got to go somewhere. And to me, it feels like Calvin Ridley is kind of already maxed out in the amount of targets he's going to receive.
Wow.
I mean, that pretty much opens up the door. I think I can honestly see Kyle Pitts getting 8 to 9 targets a game, easily, being the red zone threat in this offense. This team, the defense didn't really get any better. They could be playing from behind a lot also. It's just a recipe for success for Pitts if, a lot of things fall his way. And I would gladly take him as the 4th or 5th tight end off the board in a redraft league.
Oh, yeah. Well, and especially because you got to think, like how you said he did good with Tony Gonzalez. He made Hooper look really good. Like, Hooper was a solid top 5 tight end when he was there. And Hooper not even close to the talent that Pitts has.
Yeah, I think Hooper he's more like a athletic kind of freak He's kind of like one of those tight ends. He's not like the most handsy, best catching tight ends that have ever come into the league or anything like that. And Matt Ryan was able to make him relevant.
Right.
Is there any other rookies you really want to talk about?
I mean, there's the obvious Jamar Chase. I mean, going back with Burrow, I think that's going to be a beautiful thing. It's what it's going to come down to is it's LSU. It's LSU versus, whatever NFL team. At least for, 3 guys on offense right off the bat. That you got Burrow, you got Thaddeus Moss, and you've got Jamar Chase now. You have 3 people that have already worked together, so they know how the other one moves. I think that's going to be a big impact for Jamar Chase that benefits him over going to a different team. Because, yes, you've got Burrow. He's a pretty fresh quarterback because he only played a couple games last year before he got injured. But you have a guy that you're already comfortable with, and you already have chemistry built. You're not just building new chemistry with a new quarterback that you've never even talked to. You've just seen him on TV, kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel it's kind of like the same thing with the Tua with Waddle. It's kind of like Chase has Joe Burrow's eyes, and I think that's going to play a huge role in this. Where these passes go this coming season. I think Boyd is probably the biggest loser in this whole thing. I feel like he's now become maybe the 4th option in this offense, even behind Mixon and Higgins. Not
to mention maybe Thaddeus Moss.
Yeah, and Thaddeus Moss, because I mean, honestly, there really isn't anything too special in that tight end room. Thaddeus Moss does have familiarity with Burrow, and we could really see Thaddeus Moss, become something in fantasy. If you're in a dynasty league, I would have no problem, taking him and stashing him away, at least during the offseason to kind of find out if you find anything out in training camp or anything like that. Javonte Williams for the Denver Broncos. I'm kind of really high on him, but only because I feel like it could be a situation where with Gordon, is he missing the first game? Or is he missing the first 2 games, or did he get nothing out of that?
I don't think he got anything.
Either way, you look at the contract that they have to pay Gordon $8 million this year. I could see them totally just moving on from that contract, and this just becoming Javonte Williams' backfield, instantly making him a viable option in fantasy. I would easily have him probably as a RB3, maybe 4, somewhere in that range, just because we still got questions with that offense. I mean, Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers was there. I would have no question about it. But that's another time, another story. We're not going to deep into that like everybody else does. Anybody else you really want to discuss or talk about here?
No, but I wanted to touch back to with the Javonte Williams. It definitely lowers Melvin Gordon's value, like 100%, because I mean, you got to think Melvin Gordon, he hasn't really done it's not like his, when he was a Charger. He doesn't have that oomph that he had before. He's lost a step, and he's not even that old. You got to think that the Broncos, as of now, with how quick they get rid of quarterbacks, that they're not willing to sit there and work with a dude and just see if he can finally do good and stuff like that. It's one of those where if they fail, get rid of them. They're done. And I think that's what's going to happen is Javonte Williams will be that guy to real quick watch Melvin Gordon, and Melvin Gordon lose that job very quickly.
Yeah, to me, it's almost going to be like one of these things where, like, if Gordon is still on the roster and they carry him over, I don't honestly, I don't know if Gordon makes it the whole year unless he's just more like a depth piece. Because I have a feeling that Williams is going into that starting role when it comes time to when the season kicks off. And I have a feeling that Gordon's going to take that backseat role, much like Lindsey did in this offense last year. And that's where Gordon's gonna become disposable to this team. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So moving on here, which franchise do you feel won the draft?
I mean, I'm gonna have to say Jacksonville just because you've got the number one ranked quarterback. You got him right away. And then you ended up taking the number one, number two ranked running back. It's up in the air. Some say Harris, some say Etienne. And if you can get the number one and the number two quarterback to running back, you got to take it at that point, especially because, again, they will have that familiarity with each other. But yeah, I got to say Jacksonville with taking the number one quarterback and the number two running back.
Yeah, I think I can completely agree with the statement. They did add an offensive lineman. They did add another receiver to give Burrow another weapon.
You mean Lawrence?
Or Lawrence, sorry, Lawrence. So like I could see also, like, I feel like players like Chenault could really take a step forward this year. I feel like this could also be maybe we're kind of a revival of help me out here. What's his name? That wide receiver.
Chark,
DJ Shark. I feel like this could be a revival year for him as well. I could see him, supporting maybe two wide receiver twos in this offense. Maybe not anything top level special or anything like that. Like we've seen a lot of number one picks come in and kind of struggle. First year out the gate. I feel like this could be one of those situations where this team does kind of struggle this year, even with Lawrence. But I do feel like they are moving in the right direction, and I totally agree with you that they probably won this draft. And if I had to say, I give them an A. One other team, and I'll stick with the AFC. And my team that I feel like won the draft was the New York Jets. I really love what they did with their picks. They got Zach Wilson, of course, second. You have to help me out here, but they did draft the tackle for him. Can't think of the name right offhand. They did give him Elijah Moore in that offense. There's just a lot of good things that the Jets actually did in this draft. I really like where they filled holes that were needed to be filled. This is probably one of the best Jets drafts that I've seen in probably 20 years. I'm really liking which team this direction, or which way this team is going and what direction they're going. I feel like they could be building something special. I think it's going to be a couple of years, just like the Jags, before we really see it kind of unfold. I feel like they're they did get Carson Williams, right, the running back. So like I feel like
and Michael Carter.
yeah, they got the Michael Carter squared on the team. So I feel like like he could be a little something on this team as well. Elijah Moore, he could. I look for them to maybe move on from that Crowder contract. He's due, I believe, 10 million this year. I do look for him to be on his way out and Elijah Moore to step right into that slot role in this offense. Yeah, Michael Carter, he's a pass catching back. He's pretty much a pass catching specialist, if you ask me. He might be more the third down back in this offense. We might see other players kind of fill in that 1-2 role in this offense. That's who I have winning the draft. Other than the Jags, and it kind of seems unfair because they picked 1 and 2, but I just think
Right.
I just think the way that the Jets handled their draft by addressing these needs, I just think it was they let everything kind of fall to them, and I feel like they made the smartest decisions from this draft.
Right, and it's one of those things where yes, they drafted 1 and 2, but Lawrence and Wilson weren't the ones that necessarily made them the winners. And that's kind of where it comes down to. Yes, it seems unfair because it's 1 and 2, but at the same time, it wasn't their 1 and 2 picks that necessarily made them. It was, the Jaguars picking 25, something like that, taking NTN. It's all those other picks that they made count, even though they took the number 1 and number 2 guy. So I mean, usually it would be that the guy that's taking number 1 and number 2, those are the guys that make you win the draft. Otherwise, your other draft picks are not going to be great. But what it ends up being this year, where you can take the 1 and 2, but you had other picks too, in that first round to help you as well as many picks throughout the draft, rather than having being like the Rams with like 1 or 2 picks throughout the draft, and Seattle only picking third round.
Yeah, the Rams don't have a first till like 2027. So
Right.
my oldest kid will be moved out of the house by then, so maybe he'll get to see a Rams draft the first round talent. I mean,
I'll be getting AARP cards already. And
everybody. So is there we're gonna move on to the next topic here. Who's your way too early pick for offensive player of the year or offensive rookie of the year? Excuse me.
I'm gonna say Wilson. I mean, it's very quarterback friendly for the most part. If it was more like pass catchers and stuff, then I would lean more towards like Pitts. But I'm saying Wilson. I think Lawrence is gonna have a tough time once he gets that first loss. And the dude's never had a loss as a starting quarterback. Once he gets that first one, that's going to bring his ego down. He's going to lose that confidence that he's going to have because you're the number 1 pick. You're going to be confident. You're going to be cocky about it even. Once he gets a loss, that confidence is going to drop like crazy. He's going to start throwing more wildly, I feel like. He's going to be scrambling more and panicking more. Not to say that he's not going to be a good quarterback, but I think Wilson's had that defeat. He knows that feeling. So and not to mention, he knows he's going to the Jets. Like, no one's expecting to go to the Jets and be like, I'm going to have the greatest games. No, you're expecting to go to the Jets and be like, I'm going to try to help you guys. Let me help you. So yeah, I feel like Wilson's that guy that he already knows what he's walking into, and I think that's going to keep his confidence level up there enough and keep him going.
Yeah, I feel like even if this Jets team could finish, let's say 7-10, I think that is a big jump, from what their expectations are. I feel like they that obviously shows the franchise is moving in the right direction, like I was saying earlier too.
Yeah.
My pick for way too early offensive rookie of the year is going to be it's going to be Justin Fields. And yeah, I'm a Bears fan. Yeah, I'm a homer. Boo me. Jordan Thomas, I'm sure you'll hear this. Come at me, bro. You got my number. Call me. You know where I'm at. To me, it's him. I feel like he's in the best situation to succeed, especially if he's able to start right off the gate year one, and maybe even week one, or two, if he's not ready week one, let's say. But I feel the Bears will get him in there sooner than later. Unlike someone I could see like Trey Lance, like easily being that player that really, could catapult there, but I just don't see it because I just don't see them letting go of Jimmy G being that starter until they feel confident in Trey Lance as that starter. And I feel like the San Francisco organization has made that clear to pretty much everybody that that's their game plan, is to keep Jimmy G as the starter for this year and hold on for as long as they can, because when he is healthy, he has proven to be a competent quarterback, even if he's not a very good fantasy quarterback. Yeah, so getting back to Justin Fields, he has Allen Robinson. They did bring in Daz Newsome as a late pick. He's a slot receiver. He was Trevor Lawrence's slot receiver in college, and he's got some steady hands. As a late round pick, I really like him. Cole Comet could really take a huge leap this year. He kind of showed it at the end of last year. He was kind of getting targeted a lot down the stretch, and that was with Jimmy Graham still in the offense playing. And we don't know about the situation with Jimmy Graham. I believe he's coming back. I haven't really heard anything concrete yet.
I thought he got signed back.
Yeah, well, he was under contract, but I haven't heard whether if he was gonna retire for sure or not. I know there was rumors out there just the way he walked off the field in the playoff game, and we'll see what happens there. But I just feel like with his speed, his athleticism, him having that true wide receiver one, they did things to repair the offensive line. Their defense is top. I wouldn't say they're top 5, but they're that 10 to 15 range. They're at least enough to keep them afloat. So I really like what Fields could bring this year.
Yeah. I mean, I like the mobility of Fields, and I think that's something that the Bears have lacked. Is having that quarterback that can get out of the pocket. So I mean, I do see Fields doing pretty good. I feel like I got to give Wilson that little bit extra.
Yeah, my biggest thing with Wilson is just it's the Jets. And I feel like it could come off as I feel like this team could come off as like a slow start team, but I feel like they could gain momentum towards the end of the season, much the way like the 49ers did a couple of years ago, when they got Jimmy G and they had rolled off into that 5 wins, and ended the season. I feel like the Jets could do something like that where they're sitting like 2-7 but finish 7-9.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like that team could do that. Well, actually be 7-10. Sorry, my bad. You keep forgetting this is going to be a 17-game season now, so everything changes. Let's see. What are some? I mean, you don't have to discuss too many here, but any year 2 players you expect to take a big leap this year?
Yeah, and well, both of them are running backs. Deandre Swift, he finished out the year doing pretty solid, but he started off slow. I mean, he wasn't necessarily considered the starter in the beginning of the year, but now he's going to be considered a starter from day one. On top of that, he's got a new offensive line that's built up a little bit more. he was already originally considered to be 1-2 best running backs in the draft class. He's, I think, with having Sewell or whatever his name is, with having him, it's going to automatically benefit him on top of starting from week 1 right away. So I feel like Deandre Swift has to have that automatic, I believe in you.
Yeah, a lot of people pre-draft last year had Deandre Swift as their top back coming out of college. He was a number one across a lot of people's boards. It was just landing spot dependent. Like this Lions team doesn't figure to be very good, and they're like the Sewell pick. I feel like that does nothing but help. DeAndre Swift. That dude's just out there flipping pancakes. He's just pancaking everybody in his way. Sewell's a baller. They got Ragnow in the middle. If they even wanted to, they could move Sewell inside next to Ragnow. Just open that two gap there. Oh my God, just daylight all day for DeAndre Swift. There's a lot of things this team isn't going to be able to do well, but I feel like if there's one thing that they could do well in this offense, it's going to be run the ball. That's going to be their best chance to win games, is to do it through running the ball. They also, Adrian Peterson is no longer there. They released Kerryon Johnson. He's now with the Eagles. They signed like a 5th round guy, Jefferson.
Well, they signed Jamal Williams from the Packers.
Jamal Williams, which he's a good compliment piece. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
He's not going to light the world on fire. I mean, I think he could if he was on a team where he was just by himself, kind of thing.
If he was forced into the role, but injuries also take him down.
Yes, I feel like this is Swift's year. I think Swift's going to really show you why people had him as the number 1 running back going into last year before the draft. And there's going to be a lot of fantasy owners, especially in Dynasty, they're going to be sad that they didn't get him. But sign me up all day in the 5th, 6th round. If I can get Swift at cheap of a cost, I'm doing it every time.
Oh, yeah.
Also, like I'm sure maybe your other running back you're probably going to bring up is maybe Cam Akers.
No.
Is that possible? No. Who's the other guy?
My guy, Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, JT.
Because now he's going to be starting from week 1. You don't got Marlon Mack in there trying to pretend like he's a number 1 running back. I think JT is going to he's going to show, just like you said with Swift, and just like I said with Swift, they're going to show why they were the number 1 and number 2 running backs. Jonathan Taylor is a freak of fucking nature. And I think now that he's already got that most of a year under his belt, he's going to come back this year, and he's going to come back with a vengeance to try to show he deserves to be up there. Anyone in Dynasty is already mad that they didn't have him last year. And anyone in redraft is going to be a little skeptical about it because of the fact that he's going real early.
Yeah.
In redrafts, he's still sitting there going in 1st and 2nd round, roughly. And it's going to be a hard thing for most to be like, really, over, Dalvin or something? Maybe. Like, he showed last year that he already did solid numbers. He was a top 6 running back last year, and he didn't even start from the beginning.
And it was like, was he number 2 in rushing yards?
Something like that, yeah. And that was, he started week 4 or 5 before Marlon Mack finally went down with an injury. The best decision he ever made was getting that injury.
And Marlon Mack went down with a torn Achilles, and for football, I mean, just in general, it's a devastating injury. But for football, nobody really truly comes back for that. I mean, they did give him, a small contract, but I seriously doubt that maybe he even makes the team.
Yeah.
I think it's just him and Naheem Hines, and Hines is more of that special teams player. I feel like Jonathan Taylor is going to get more thrown into the passing game this year too, especially when you got Wentz under center. I feel like Wentz is one of those quarterbacks that are, if there's nothing down the field, he's going to dump it off to him.
Oh yeah.
But this team is absolutely set up to run through Jonathan Taylor this year. This team can play. This team has, I don't know, would you say the best offensive line in football?
Arguably, yeah.
Arguably. And then you have Jonathan Taylor, probably, one of the
top
best,
6.
probably top 6 where he's going. And you have a defense to be able to support that run game. I just feel like this is a recipe for, Jonathan Taylor to kind of, do his thing. And I feel like he's going to, like, when you talk about return on investment, I feel like Jonathan Taylor is going to give you that, even drafting him as high as 6. I wouldn't draft him over Christian McCaffrey, Kamara, Saquon, or Dalvin Cook, but at 5, 6, we can kind of talk about it.
Yeah, I'd say I'd be willing to bet right now that Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin hit about the same at the last at the end of the year. I just think Jonathan Taylor showed up last year, and he could have hit a sophomore slump, could very well be, but I just don't see it, especially because, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this, Wentz is not a great quarterback, which means he's going to have to get the ball to Jonathan Taylor more often, either through a handoff or a real quick short pass. He's going to have to use Jonathan Taylor a lot because he's just not there.
I feel like this offensive line can do enough and give Carson Wentz that confidence that he's been lacking and give him the time to make those, decisions that, he wasn't afforded to make when he was in Philadelphia the last year. I feel like Carson Wentz is going to kind of be, maybe it's too early to call a comeback player of the year.
I mean, and I can see it. The only I don't fault you for thinking it. I feel like that dude's made out of glass.
I will never. I know there's a lot of fantasy analysts that will discount somebody for being quote unquote made out of glass, and there's a lot of people that hate Will Fuller and other players for being made out of glass. I honestly don't believe in that. I believe in the talent. Like I said, I think this offensive line could do enough to keep him upright and rebuild Carson Wentz's confidence. I feel like Frank Reich is the right coach too, because he worked with Wentz before, to give Wentz that confidence. I don't think you're going to really see it right away because I think, like I said, I think this is going to probably be the best running team in football. I'll call it early now. It's not going to surprise me if Jonathan Taylor's the RB1 in all of fantasy when it's all said and done this next year. I just feel like Carson Wentz, you're going to see, but it's not going to be until late in the year when they really start trusting him with the ball and they really start letting him air it out a little more. But I feel like that still benefits Jonathan Taylor because, like I said, I think it's still going to be those check down routes that Jonathan Taylor's going to get those looks. And to me, receptions, even if you're not playing in a PPR league, even if it's just half, there's stats to back it up, but they're always worth more. Receptions are always worth more than runs.
Yeah. Well, and then you've got to think too is that with Wentz, it's not only the fact of being made out of glass, but there's people that are made out of glass like Will Fuller that, yeah, he's not going to play for these weeks, but once he comes back in, he's going to get you those points. Wentz hasn't showed that. Every time that he comes back, he doesn't do that much. And I think that's the reason why it's harder for me to trust him. So that's why as I agree with you, that Jonathan Taylor is going to benefit from that. I think that's why Jonathan Taylor probably will beat out Dalvin.
Yeah, I mean we've seen top running backs play with mediocre quarterback play. Adrian Peterson's prime, he had quarterbacks like back there like Christian Ponder. I'm not even gonna go through that list of quarterbacks he had before he had Brett Favre for that one good year. And but like any other players you kind of want to bring up for year two, like maybe that'll break out, that you're kind of keeping your eye on, maybe to trade for in dynasty or kind of look to target and redraft this year?
I mean, not really. None of them that super stick out to me. I mean, I've got leagues where I've traded for Font. I've got leagues that I've traded, Judy. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Judy. I don't think that he's necessarily going to be that guy that is talked about in the top 5 or so. But he's a guy that could easily end up getting up to like the top 15 or so. Also, you never know what happens if Rodgers goes over there. As much as I hate Rodgers, he's still better than Drew Lock.
There's probably I don't even know. I would have to look at everybody's rosters, but there's probably like 29 other teams at least that have a better quarterback situation than the Broncos have.
Right.
I mean, just offhand, the Houston Texans probably have the worst quarterback situation.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna get into all that stuff,
Then you got people like Jacksonville that's got 2 quarterbacks they can easily start at any point.
Oh, you know Minshew's on the way out of there.
Yeah, I hope he does go out of there and goes to a different team and beast modes and beats the shit out of Jacksonville. My guy.
Anyway, anything else you kind of want to talk about tonight?
Anyways, let's just move on from that.
Anything else you kind of really want to talk about tonight? Otherwise, I'm going to kind of just keep it short, keep it sweet, close out the show, and we'll get back to it next week.
I think we're going for the little draft talk.
All right, so next week, so I think we talked about we're going to do some dynasty, a little bit of dynasty. We're going to do some what did we just discuss here?
We're going to do rankings.
So we're going to do some dynasty rankings or some players that we're kind of looking for to target in dynasty during your rookie drafts. You can follow me on Twitter at TJSumter55. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm all over the place. Mikey P, you know where to find him at?
TSF. True
TSF, baby.
Football.
All right, everybody. We'll close it out here. Until then,
stay true.